Okay, and we're live. Welcome back to our next talk. So here we're going to be talking about leveraging the BigCommerce platform and getting started. With me today, I have our Director of Product Management, Nathan Booker, and he'll be talking about leveraging the platform. And I'm going to quickly run through kind of getting started on the BigCommerce platform. We have a nice flow for anyone that's new to building apps on the platform. Some of you will be familiar, some of you have done this a million times, but for some of you, this is new. And so I'm going to run through that. First, I want to mention that there's a full hack pack run through video in the dev Slack where I walk through the whole hack pack, talk about what's in there, and I really recommend watching that or exploring the hack pack on your own. So you really know where all these resources are, especially the ones that we're going to talk about right now. So the first one I want to show you, let's pull this up, is our app's quick start guide. So this is linked to in the hack pack. You can also just find it on our documentation. It's just the app's quick start. And going through this process will really help you understand, just by following these instructions word for word, this will really help you understand how to get started and how to register an app, get everything configured, and get an app uploaded onto your store and into our into like the app marketplace. It will mimic that process. These won't go into the marketplace unless you want them to, but for now, they'll just be like sample apps that you're able to use on your own store. So I really recommend going through this whole flow and really seeing just kind of what that process is like. Unless you're new, unless you've built a million apps before, in which case you probably know how to do this. And the second thing is app extensions. So this is the featured BigCommerce API in this hackathon. So the repo that you'll all get access to, that open source AI app foundation repo, will already have app extensions baked in. But I really recommend going through this so that you really understand what app extensions are and what they can do. And so this will be like a pretty comprehensive guide to getting an app extension installed, getting it up and running, how to design it, and all of that. One of our engineers who worked on app extensions, Matt Volk, will be presenting tomorrow afternoon about this feature. And so if you're curious, feel free to explore this now, and he'll be doing a deeper dive tomorrow. App extensions is a really, really fun feature because this is something that our team really dog-fooded and made sure it operates the way that users really want it to. And it's pretty intuitive to get started and to get going. And this is, as I said, pre-baked into the repo. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to talk about real quick before Nathan gets going. Okay, I think that's it for me. So Nathan, I'm gonna let you take it away. And then if there's anything that I realize I didn't mention, I'll hop in at the end and wrap up.
Yeah, sounds good, Katie. And thanks for that awesome intro. So just to restate, I'm Nathan and I'm on the product management team here at BigCommerce. In that capacity, I look after a lot of our developer products and our API strategy, and I work on things like app extensions together with other product managers to try to make sure that the BigCommerce platform is one of the best places for developers to add value to the e-commerce industry. And for those of you that are perhaps completely unfamiliar with BigCommerce, maybe you came in through the Google announcement, you want to kind of get the 411 on who we are. We're a SaaS e-commerce platform that's primarily focused on established and scaling businesses, right? So that, we do have a number of customers that we consider kind of small and medium businesses, but we do go all the way up to the enterprise and Fortune 500 kind of household names. So we do go across quite a wide range of customers and cohorts and so forth. And that's the target that you can consider going after. And I'll talk a little bit about how things work differently at either end of that spectrum as well. So us being SaaS, of course, means that we're fully hosted, fully online, and it also means that when you think about building apps and integrations into the platform, you can build one thing that you can productize and make available to tens of thousands of potential customers in the form of those established e-commerce online businesses. So there is actually tremendous opportunity here. Going through the outcome of this hackathon, sure, you might win a prize, but even if you don't, there's an opportunity to keep working on whatever you build here and try to take that to the next level and sell it in our marketplace or become a part of our ecosystem, which of course we'd love to have you. So talking a little bit about the customer base, as I said, numerically, we do have a lot of those, SMBs, small and medium-sized businesses, and that was the customer base that we historically focused on since the beginning of the company. But these days, the last couple of years, we have been kind of focused on the larger and larger businesses going all the way up into the enterprise. So when we think about building things with AI, right, there is tremendous opportunity on both ends of that spectrum, but I think the way you might approach that might look a little bit different. So I'm going to plant a couple of seeds here that may help you with your ideation and execution during the hackathon. When I think about small and medium-sized businesses, first of all, they may or may not be familiar with how to do e-commerce well, right? They may or may not be experts on how to run a business. It might be their first time, or they might be, kind of a successful sort of serial entrepreneur that's trying out a new brand or something like that. So the needs of that customer is really to save time wherever they can, right? With having some experience running online businesses myself, I can tell you that a lot of your time just goes into trying to put things into boxes and get them to customers, right? Assuming you've even made it far enough to have enough orders where that's your main concern. So they customers in that small and medium size kind of end of the market, they're very concerned with saving as much time as they can, right? Their time is at a premium, and they'd love to be doing things to optimize their marketing. They'd love to be updating their storefront website to make it prettier or more accessible or more highly converting. But again, their time is going to be elsewhere on things like order management and customer service and so forth. So anything that can save them time there, especially with the new tools that become possible with some of these advancements in AI, are going to be really well received by that end of the market, especially things that mean that they need to be less of an expert on e-commerce, right? There's all sorts of skill sets that are necessary to run an e-commerce business successfully, such as, what does it mean to SEO optimize something, right? What does it mean to write engaging content for your website that is going to get you indexed on Google and allow you to get some organic search traffic? A lot of people come into this game of e-commerce without necessarily being experts on those things. So any tools that we can give them that allow them to kind of skip a couple steps there and, certainly learn as they go, but also get to an end result quickly, once again, I think is going to be really well received. If we jump forward a couple orders of magnitude, right, up until the mid-market and enterprise, and just to give you an idea, I like to think of this as customers that have, 100 employees, maybe 1,000 employees contributing to the e-commerce part of the business. A lot of them are going to be in, fulfillment and order management and customer service, because they will have carved those out into specialist roles. But then, you might have a marketing team of 3, 5, 10 people that's just focused on, spinning up ads on social or optimizing their ad spend with Google, or, coming up with new landing pages and new email marketing campaigns. And really they're looking for, how to optimize that money that they're spending towards making more money, right? And I think that's always an interesting area to play, because an e-commerce merchant's willingness to spend gets really high when they can say, hey, $1 that I put in here gets me $2 of additional sales. They want to put as much money into that as they can, right, until they hit a point of diminishing returns. So anything that can kind of help, on the marketing side, on getting additional traffic to their website and converting it, is usually really well received in that mid-market area. When we go all the way up to the enterprise, right, and here you're thinking household names, Fortune 500 businesses, obviously thousands of employees is pretty common there, and having, multiple marketing teams, maybe one focused on, each brand or different localities if they're selling internationally, which is pretty common at that scale. At this point, you can kind of assume that within those companies, there are e-commerce experts, right? So they don't necessarily need to be educated. And if anything, they probably know their customer base for their brand, better than we know their customer base in kind of a generic sense at the platform level. Nevertheless, their time is still at a premium. They're still looking for ways to be more efficient, right? Especially in the current economic climate. And one thing that gets really interesting from an AI perspective is that these companies have a lot of data, right? They're getting a lot of traffic. They have a really large sample set in terms of their website, right? In terms of behavioral data. So they're often trying to use that to, optimize conversion, provide a really personalized experience or product recommendations, for customers that have returned a whole lot. So that's another thing to think about. And they probably have a lot of other business systems that are focused on collecting data from a large number of channels, right? So today, a lot of that analysis, even though we've had, computers to help for decades now, a lot of that analysis is essentially, the creativity of individual human beings churning through that stuff and trying to turn that into insights and what to do next, right? So to the extent that, again, we've got new tools in the form of AI that can potentially help and make that process of getting to those insights and getting to those next steps a little bit easier. I think that's another interesting area of investment there. And of course, I'm just talking about these businesses kind of in terms of their size or their scale. There's other ways you can slice it, right? We can think about B2C versus B2B. We can think about the needs of particular verticals like apparel or automotive or home goods and things like this, jewelry, which, I could probably talk all day about this, but not the best use of our time in a 30-minute session. So for those of you that are participating in the hackathon, if you're new to working on an e-commerce ecosystem, I would just look for time savings, right? And pick a cohort and go after it. If you're one of the folks in the audience who is already an e-commerce expert, already familiar with everything I've mentioned so far, I would encourage you to solve a problem really well for a particular niche, right? Pick a way of selling, pick a vertical, because all those verticals are going to have their own special problems, and solve a problem for them extremely well, right? That's just me as a product guy. Always better to have it, 10 extremely happy customers that you can build on top of, instead of trying to cast a wide net and just having a solution that's merely okay. Those are just a couple of seeds I wanted to plant that may be helpful for those of you that are trying to come up with the best thing to build here in the hackathon.
Yeah, that's so great. Nathan is a wealth of information, so I feel free to play that back if you didn't get all that in one go. What you said made me think of something else, another point I wanted to make. And a unique thing about this hackathon is that your user isn't like a defined audience. Your user could be merchants, it could be developers, it could be like it could be anyone, shoppers, merchants, like it could be anybody.
Yeah.
Which again kind of widens the scope of what is possible. But I love what you said about finding a niche and like finding a real problem to solve. Coming up with like big generic solutions tend to not solve things for everybody. So kind of like zeroing in on a real problem, I think is like a really awesome strategy for people to take on during the hackathon.
No, it's a yet another way to slice it, Katie, which I'm happy to elaborate on a little bit. This is the way we think about our customers at BigCommerce, is that we have essentially 3 different types of customers. Of course, e-commerce merchants are the ones that we all have in common, that we're all focused on here in the hackathon, trying to make it easier to run e-commerce businesses, trying to help those businesses scale and get more customers and make more revenue. So that's always a solid choice. Obviously those e-commerce merchants care a whole lot about their customers, right? Which are the e-commerce shoppers. And certainly there's opportunities for AI there. And for years now, we've seen all sorts of chat bots and increasingly accurate product recommendations that I'm sure all of us see on social media and so forth. So any opportunities to essentially, lubricate the interactions on the storefront, make it easier for those shoppers to find the products they're looking for, and encourage them to buy, that ultimately bubbles back up into improvements for the merchant, right? So they would all love to see that. And then I think another thing you hinted at there is kind of your fellow developers, right, in the BigCommerce ecosystem, like other people in this hackathon who are building apps. If AI is kind of the gold rush, right, you could sell the shovels as well. So I think there's interesting opportunities there. And if that's the customer type that you have the most understanding and empathy for coming in, maybe that's a good place to investigate as well.
Yeah, any pain points that anyone that is in the BigCommerce ecosystem feels, whether they're a dev or they're brand new to the platform, that's like a really unique standpoint too, or like a vantage point, problems you've actually encountered and how to solve them. All right. Well, okay, we can open up Q&A. I don't think we have a lot of questions, but one question we do have, that was the only question asked in our other kickoff session, was about the repository, the AI App Foundations repo, and it is now open. So if you're watching this live, you're one of the first people to know that is open and available for you to go toy around with, take some of the insights you've gotten from here and from the kickoff and really hit the ground running with coming up with these cool ideas. We're all available in Slack if you want to run something by us, if you want to, we can't tell you what a winning idea would be because we don't know, but happy to bounce ideas for anybody in our dev Slack. One other question we have is, are co-pilots welcome to be submitted in this hackathon? I don't know if I can answer this live. Let me check with our team and see what we think, and I'll answer that question over in Dev Slack. I don't want to give the wrong answer. because I'm live and I don't want it to be the wrong thing.
Well, I can take a whack at it, Katie.
Okay,
You
yeah,
know,
please.
I think first of all, this term co-pilot is kind of emerging in the industry, so I don't think there's any like shared definition of that yet. But based on my understanding of what's meant by a co-pilot, which in general is going to be something that helps people with their operations. You know, we've seen GitHub Copilot, we've seen now products from Microsoft and things that are getting baked into Windows that essentially just help you save time whenever you're using your computer. As that example, I mean, it's open season on all of that stuff. Anything that drives, you know, merchant efficiency, user efficiency. You know, I would expect that people that are trying to build something like a Copilot would probably want to make a lot of use of app extensions, because having that deep integration with the rest of the BigCommerce, you know, administrative interface, the control panel, is probably going to be really key for making that successful. And just as a note there, you know, if you've got an idea that you're trying to execute on and you're kind of running up against the limits of what you're allowed to do with apps, you know, the sandbox that you need to stay within, but you've got this idea where, hey, I think I can add a lot more value if I could just have some additional degree of access. That's the kind of thing we'd love to hear about, right? And is probably something we can pursue together, even beyond the hackathon, right? If there's a really promising idea.
Yeah, great point. Definitely don't let anything stop you from pursuing big ideas without running it by us first. We're, as Nathan said, like very, very happy to help. And those are the kinds of things that are really exciting and things that maybe we haven't thought of. So yeah, be sure to reach out if there's anything outside that sandbox that you want to pursue. So yeah, actually I'm conferring with the team. Copilots are a go. So yeah, so you can submit copilots. Those are an AOK app or hackathon submission project. And I think that's it. Is there anything else you want to touch on? Anything else these hackers need to know?
Yeah, I think in general, the way we think about this at BigCommerce, you know, we think that the future of e-commerce and the future of AI on BigCommerce is going to be built together with all of our partners. You know, for those of you again that are kind of unfamiliar with the e-commerce industry, you know, BigCommerce tries to be an incredibly partner and ecosystem friendly company. I think those of you that are already in our ecosystem would agree with that. And we love to, you know, find interesting solutions to problems that have been built by someone in our ecosystem and just elevate them, right? We're not the type of company that likes to disintermediate, you know, our partners. We're not the kind of people that like to compete with you and kind of push you out and things like that. So just know that if you build something that's really meaningful here, you know, our first impulse is going to be to try to elevate it and help you find as many customers as you can, assuming that it solves a problem, you know, in the e-commerce industry.
That is such a great way to close out. I totally agree. We're really excited to see what you guys build, and I think that this was really valuable insight. So thank you very much, Nathan. And stay tuned. If you want to know more about the schedule for the rest of these talks, check out the Hack Pack and that welcome page. There's a full lineup of all the events and links to the YouTube live events. You can also go over to our YouTube if you want to catch any of the other talks that you weren't able to watch live. And we will see you guys at the next talk. Happy hacking.
Happy hacking. Thanks all.